This is, let's see, He is the joy of man's desiring. It's a Bach organ prelude arranged for the piano by Harold Bauer. This is the original melody from the 17th century. No, let's see. The melody might be much older. That's the original tune, so.
Do you ever think about anything when you play anymore?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm thinking, well, like I said, it's about music, but usually, I don't know, I have to tune into sort of subconscious physical activity. Once in a while I think a definite thought like, watch out for that finger or something. But this didn't work today. See, I can play that, but it didn't work when I was in the you can't, it's hard to, it's a, sort of a non-concentration.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to remember something, it ruins the whole thing. It's like throwing a wrench into the machinery. If you interfere with that sort of reflex, like. But then there's nothing, you don't know what to think of. You can't plan anything or imagine. So it's sort of a non-thought. And let the habits take over. Now this is also in G. It's a prelude and fugue from Book 2 of the Well-Tempered Clavier.
Nice.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good little running episode. It's also measured, and then here he runs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I should be able to play all these, but I can't do that.
Have you worked on them?
Oh,
at some point or another?
I worked on 6 of them. This one is like some. Sort of like the lute. Right, that's fine.
Which one is that?
That's E flat major. That has a organ-like fugue. Played that for a long time. That's a 4-voiced fugue.
Mm-hmm.
These are quite. All of them have strong character in their own way, different from each other. The prelude, the most famous was this prelude from Book 1. But I don't remember that, but I don't have that music here.
You don't have which one?
The first book.
You don't?
No, I haven't got it up here.
Oh, it's downstairs.
Well, I think it's, wait a minute. Browns.
Is there one in C sharp minor?
Oh yeah, in either book.
What are the, do you remember any of those?
C sharp minor. Oh no. They're either, both of them are very elaborate and different. Sort of. Let's see, here it is. No, that's E, let's see, C sharp. Oh, this is C sharp minor. very, it has an elaborate and meandering quality.
What would it be like to have a mind like that?
Yes, to hear all those things. You know, usually he has certain characteristics in D. Most things in D are very brilliant in Bach. He's here, for example, well, D major. The Magnificat is, that choral work is written in D major. But here's an example of bright and trumpet-like music for D major. And this piece, that's also in D. That's always brilliant sounding. That's a wall of sound.
Which one is that again?
Oh, this is the organ prelude to this. We thank thee, God. We thank the oratorio arranged for piano by Wilhelm Kemp. I played it too fast for this, but it's like bells ringing. He gets that sound. It was really very joyous. And
Like a bright Sunday morning.
Like, yeah, it's a glorioso. Bells ringing. Oh well, I'm learning that still. I'll bring it forth one day. Let's see, that's the only thing I can't think of anything else I was going to play. Nothing in my... All is about a cook. I think that's all I can have for today.
How do you think of arpeggios? How do you do arpeggios?
Oh, well, my thumb is short, so I have to make up for that with arm movement. Some people can just reach that, but I think the faster you play, the less you do this motion. You shouldn't reach around like massaging the keys. Because this muscle can shift very rapidly. So
So are you doing this? You're doing the same fingering for each one of those?
it's like this, transplanted.
So slow that down. Tell me which fingers you're using.
Oh, just 1, 2, 3. See, it should feel to me like I'm doing, but in between I move. This finger will, instead of playing there, it plays there. And that's quite accurate. I mean, dependable.
What if you're doing a different inversion? Still keep the same fingering for every inversion, or you change the fingering?
Well, that's an arguable thing whether you should. I usually, if it's just a simple arpeggio, I keep the same fingering. But I don't know. I'm willing to change it if it's
Whatever works, huh?
peculiar. Yeah, if it has a peculiar ending or.
So what if you weren't going straight through something? Let's say you were putting some kind of sort of sequence on something where if you're playing an arpeggio, you're playing 1 3 5 3 5 1 5 1 3, so on and so forth. What would you do then? If you went up 3 notes and you started on the third, went up 3 notes, started on the fifth, went up 3 notes, started on the octave, what would you do then?
Like this, starting 1 and then next start on 2.
Yeah, if you started on the third of the triad, then third of the arpeggio, then. So then you're gonna play 3 notes. You're gonna play an inversion there. How would you finger that?
Oh, if I just play 3 notes.
Yeah, so you went
Like this. No. I would.
But I'd be overlapping them. Now, if you think of that triad in your head, you got the third, the fifth, and if you kept stacking it, but just start on each successive note, so you start on 1 3 5, then 3 5 1, then 5 1 3.
If I just play 3 notes in a bunch, like that. No, I start each one with a 1.
So you would basically just move your thumb and whatever worked out for each.
Oh, see, if I find this, if I do the regular fingering, this would be so awkward. So I just play them in bunches. If it's just a handful, then I play them in a handful.
Right, that makes sense.
If I have to move, then I guess I figure out something else. The important thing, I think, is that you don't have to physically connect everything on the piano with it. You can give the illusion. Let's see. You can give the illusion.
That it's actually all in your hand when it isn't. Am I following you? That it's almost could be like in the person's reach, but it's even though you're position shifting.
Oh yeah, it should sound like you're doing it handful like this.
Right. That makes sense to me.
Then you have to guard against, see, if you make a violent thrust to get there, it'll be accented. So you have to accent the one before it. This one. Then you incorporate it to a large motion. Oh. works quite well. This muscle, this joint this is the only joint that moves sideways very well. These joints don't do, this one doesn't at all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is somewhat, and these come, you have to adjust little things, but you can't really. It's like the set of, I think technique is like having a set of tools that you develop separately. You know, you have a very sharp-edged cutting edge,
Mm-hmm.
and a great heavy muscular big tool, you know, and then you have to decide which one you're going to use to do what you want it to do. And the piano, the history of, in the olden days, in the harpsichord days, it was thought that this would be the only tool you ever needed. And it's true with harpsichord. But then, of course, the composers are always ahead of the performance. They started writing things that required wrist movements and things, so you had to use. So, and there's sort of a history of the the tools, you know, working from this small tool and then the wrist, and finally the shoulders and everything else, and it's like a wrestling match today. The pianist now, Rubinstein used to lift himself off of the seat playing with his shoulder muscles, you know. Of course, he had short legs. You didn't notice it sometimes. It's about the same height as when he was sitting. Not really, but he would be on his feet, you know.
The other thing I was gonna have you explain too. When I first met you, you were talking about just the pressure on the keys, you know.
The lift.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. I don't have anything on tape of you talking about that.
Oh, well, finger. That's one of the well, let me see. How would I start? It's like the cutting edge. It takes the longest to develop of all the technical virtues, but it's not cultivated very much. Most technique ideas are concerned with the downstroke, developing strength to play. But this one, this little exercise practices the lift up, and because it's kind of related to walking and running. When you're walking, leisurely walking, you don't stomp on each foot with each foot, but you simply lift the weight out of one foot and it goes into the other. It's like a balancing act. Now, if you in running, you speed up that process, lifting more rapidly, so the transfer of the weight goes quickly into the other foot, but you're still not lifting the other foot and stomping down that word. That's wasted energy. So if you practice that lift with fingers, it's just it's like walking, only it only involves about this much. You can feel that transfer taking place back here where they go into your wrist, those tendons and so on. And you get rid of this finger stroke completely. You just let your fingers rest on the key and then play one of them silently and then lift that so rapidly that the other one plays. So the only move is when you lift out of the key, and you imagine that you're trying to lift your finger out so rapidly that the key will bounce, which it does if you just let it go. There's a little bounce. It feels very, it's different. It's like, I compare it to, because you don't want to punch through the surface, but you're just sort of, I compare it to tiptoeing over thin ice. You don't want to punch through, and yet so you want to get rid of the downward thrust, but just lift off each one. And then the one that's going to play is gently put down. If you do it right, you don't even feel the key bed. And it gives great clarity and speed usually. So the weak fingers, everybody for years and decades, they were always worried about how to strengthen the weak fingers. Schumann had something to strengthen the fourth finger. With this exercise, there are no weak fingers.
Because you're actually getting the motion off the other fingers anyway. I see that in your playing too, a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had a teacher who taught, he's the only person that ever mentioned that.
Who was it?
At Clayton Williams. He was from the New England Conservatory. It gives a little, it's very distinct, gives great clarity. It's like tonguing tones on trumpet or some horn. Each one has a little launching. Then if you want a lot of strength, you can just sink your arm weight into it, and you can have, because those muscles will support. That's, I think that's an important thing. There are exercises generally practiced that use that. They're sort of a rapid, very rapid up-down motion. They're real old. They probably Liszt was the first one to do it. I don't know, but I imagine so. But this is half of the finger stroke, the upward. So, that's on, that's every week we have that serenade. Let's see. Well, the piano, when you play piano, you have to think of different aspects. One thing you think about is yourself, the muscles and the way the body is built. There aren't any straight places. The fingers are all different lengths. And everything, if you complete the motion of any joint, it would make a circle. This would be a circle if you could go all the way around any. And so your body moves in a series of circles. And the piano key would be a circle too. It's from a pivot point, fulcrum, that would make a circle. So what you do is try to intercept this piano key circle with your muscle circles at just different places. If you intercept it just 100%, at the most efficient place, you get the most tone. But if you don't want the big tone, then you consciously cut down on the efficiency, make a big useless motion. Looks useless, but if you did this, I'd say about here, if you cut into this circle made by the keys, that's about the most I think made diagrams, but that's a good angle to get most efficient, more, as they say, more bang for your buck, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that people are there in the midst of where we have our sort of living space that we live in. You know, if you spread your arms out and legs, like the Leonardo medallion, that figure's standing. That's and we're balanced with 2 arms, 2 legs, and so on, so that I think it's perfectly normal or perfectly sensible to think of walking as a trill. You know, one note after another. So what that, to me, that says that what you do on one side, you could repeat its opposite on the other side. And if you can do that, then you're balanced everything, so that every motion implies its opposite. I mean, it should. If you do something that you can't do backwards or on the other side with the other arm or leg, then you lose your balance and fall or something. Well, the piano is like that too. You can do all sorts of motions, but you have to be able to recover them. Unless it's the last chord of the piece, I guess you can. I heard a recital once where somebody played the Scriabin Fifth Sonata, and it goes off the keyboard almost, and he leaped to his feet as he played the end of it, and was standing in front of the audience waiting for them to start applause. That was a very famous pianist, Garrick Olson.
Did he get it?
Oh yes, oh bravos, yeah. But after the audience was somewhat startled to see them standing there. Well, he wasn't really waiting, but it was as though he were leaping off the piano. The piece was over with, so he didn't have to recover that motion. But most things, sometimes like technical difficulties, if you have something that doesn't work, technically you should try to do it backwards, and you'd find the motion that would carry you through it and back again. That's what you should practice on. Let's see. I could never reach that, but rotary motions. Well, and this, since the fingers are all the different lengths and everything, and the piano is rigid, we have to do all kinds of adjustments and rotations and things like that in order to maintain a certain leverage, so that the big heavy finger doesn't sound louder than the little one. We can throw some arm weight behind it or something. That's not, to me, that's just like athletes do that all the time. And incorporate small, delicate, or precise motions into larger motions. Like with follow through, as they call it. That always helps you do things and it makes everything easier. So that's all I know about piano playing.
What about getting your hands to do 2 different things at one time? That's my big problem.
Oh, let not one hand know what the other.
Yeah. How do you?
Well, I think.
Or is it just something that came naturally to you?
Oh, no.
For me, being a guitar player, you spend your whole life trying to get your hands to work together.
Oh, well, they do work. You could think of it that way. Even if they're doing different things, they're still working together, could you?
Yeah.
let's see, are you right or left-handed?
Right-handed.
I found this, I think I discovered this for myself, but I don't know if it's, no, I've never heard people mention it. If whichever hand if you're right-handed, learn the right-hand part,
Mm-hmm.
which it has a direct line to the brain,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll run itself. After you know it, it's sort of, you don't have to will it into existence. You just get it started. Do you think you could, does that make sense?
I don't know. I mean, it's never made the right and left-handed stuff. Because I play guitar, I'm right-handed, but this hand's the one that does everything. This hand's the one that has all the dexterity, and that I require to do everything, even though I'm right-handed. So you think if you're right-handed, you should actually learn to play guitar. What they'd say is left-handed.
Well, yeah,
but it's all backwards,
They should have a right-handed and left-handed guitar.
Well, they do, but I mean, a right-handed guitar means you use your left hand to do all the fretting.
Oh, I see.
And a left-handed guitar means you use your right hand to do all the fretting. So it's always seemed like a backwards instrument to me. So, this hand, of course, when I'm trying to play piano poorly, I don't have too much of a problem. And this hand, I don't have a whole lot of problem doing stuff because it's already used to doing all sorts of different. It's just putting everything, getting them to do two different things at one time.
Yeah, well, the brain can only think of one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It can think very quickly, though, from one to another. But if you learn one hand, whichever hand is the most automatic, learn the part completely and over until it's ingrained, and then all you have to do is think the other hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way you'll play it, then no matter how well you learn it. And it's never runs itself, but you can concentrate on one hand. The other one will run itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I do. Or there is also the idea of, even though they're doing different things, they're doing them at the same time, so you can think of it as one is meshed with the other, even though they're doing quite different things.
Well, the odd thing, when I was playing in a band a couple years ago, they insisted that I sing some backups on things, and I don't sing because I don't have a very good voice, but they insisted that I do something. Mm-hmm. And I would practice doing it, and as soon as I'd open my mouth, I couldn't play guitar, which was the silliest thing. So I sat around and just took the simplest little thing that I had to sing with the simplest little guitar part that had to go along with it, and I kept doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then all of a sudden I quit thinking about either one of them, and I got this weirdest sensation that I only had when I learned how to ride a bike when I was a kid. I got that same feeling. I don't know. I mean, I'd completely forgotten what that feeling was like because that's been forever and a day ago. And now I don't think about either one of them.
It was like you're in a suspended state,
yeah.
And you don't.
And now when I have to do that, because I still play around with some guys, where I live, and I don't think about either one of them really. You just do it and you quit thinking. Mm-hmm. It's the oddest thing.
Yeah, that's the non-concentration concentration, I think. If you abandon that state of mind and think, now what's next, what note am I going to play, that would throw a wrench into the whole thing and make it all probably. Nerves, you see. Well, it involves the whole brain to play piano, or any music instrument, I think. All the motions, down to the littlest, those are all done automatically by like reflex, you make a habit of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've analyzed the piece so you can think a bigger pattern. You can't think all the details rapidly enough. So you make habits out of those, and you can think bigger details. And part of the brain is like a navigator. It's the performance is like taking a tourist on a trip, where you're going to show them this and that and show them the sights and so on. So they're in a bus, say, and they're all seated, and the driver he's an expert on driving the bus. He knows how to shift and do everything smoothly, and but he doesn't know where you're going, or he doesn't know when you get to the Statue of Liberty, he doesn't know what to say about it or anything. That's somebody else going to do that. So he doesn't bother. But next to him sits the navigator who has plotted and planned the whole thing, analyzed the piece. It's in G major, so we're going to have F sharps unless otherwise, and all of those details. And after 8 measures, we're going to have a modulation and go to a different key. And it's like he points out in good time, ahead of, so that the driver isn't taken by surprise. He's like a cue. He gives the cues. Turn left at the next gas station, and so on. Then let's see, there's some other character in there which I don't understand, but the third character, or fourth, is the big boss who sits in the back seat, or he's the tour guide. He knows where you came from, where you went, where you're going, and all the sights on the way. He can talk about anything. And if the navigator suddenly blacks out, the boss knows that too. He knows everything. He can make the whole thing work if necessary. Then you rehearse this journey over and over again, so that when you get up in front of the public, the roof could fall in and you could still play. That's what that is, I think. But, so you build, I think, learn the hand that will learn the part most easily. Learn to make one hand automatic and then fit the other one into that one.
That makes sense.
So then you feel as though you're only doing one hand. So if you, yes, that sort of suspended, all the little details are melted into a bigger pattern, like bicycle riding. And if you don't do anything crazy, you're airborne. I mean, that little round thing will propel you forward, you see. So you feel like you're in movement. That's then you should, if you do that often enough, you can get. It takes a lot of confidence, though, for playing. You have to, and it's very good to have great success when you're young and be taught in such a way that you know your music real well, so that chances are that you'll succeed. Because little kids or youngsters, their mind is they don't have that concentration. Probably not. A noise happens, or they hear their little sister say something in the audience, and then it's gone. Maybe, who knows what happens. But the habit forming, the reflex, is a very powerful thing that can survive almost anything. In fact, the more confused and mixed up things are, the more you're likely to do what you've been doing over and over again, I think.
So where are you going?
Oh, Santa Fe. You mean next week? Oh yeah, Santa Fe for a week.
And you'll be back when then? August?
Yeah, let's see. I'll be back, let me think now. This is, August the 1st is...
What is today, 24th? So
Yeah,
next week, Thursday's the 31st already?
Yeah, 31st. So I'll be at least a week. I don't know, let's see. If we're returning in 1 day or 2 days, I'll be the following week.
Sometime later in the first week of August you'll be back. So I'll probably see you in the middle of August then, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know your number though, but, or you could just try to call me, I guess.
Yeah, you have my phone number, don't you? You called my house before.
Yeah, I've got quite a few numbers, but I don't, yeah, I've got a number for.
6119. You called me at home before.
Oh, okay.
483-6119. I haven't been in the phone book too.
In
I
the,
think.
in the Hayes?
In the Russell one.
Oh, Russell.
If you've got a Feist or whatever,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I should be in there. Well, see, we got another. We have 50 some minutes again today. This is our 6th tape, by the way. We got 6 hours worth of stuff now.
And I can't remember what's all on there.
And
I think I better do them over again.
I need to get cracking and get some of these things put on the DVDs. What I need to do.
Can you erase something and put it on the other one?
Well, I've just been stacking them up because I want to get them all on my computer, and then I want to make a copy of each full one, and then you can watch it and see what you like, and we'll keep what you like, and then melt that all down into 1 or 2 of them. You know. Plus, I want to split it into a section where you're playing and a section where we're
Goodness.
talking about stuff.
This is your life kind of thing.
All right. Well, say goodbye.
Yes, okay. I'll be a different person when I come back from Santa Fe.
You'll have a
No.
much darker tan, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't go out so much. But,
Well, have a good trip. I'll see you when you get back.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, you ought to go there sometime.
Yeah, if I ever got out of Russell. Alright, I'm going to turn this off.